I was actually just reading an article earlier this week about a recent study that was done measuring something that they're now calling social jet lag, which is what happens when you change your sleep habits from day to day. Meaning you go to work on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you generally wake up at the same time, generally go to sleep at the same time.
Yeah.
Friday comes along, and if you have a social life, you stay up late, a couple extra hours late. Maybe you drink, maybe you eat late, who knows what else. You roll into Saturday, you sleep in.
I remember those days.
You roll into Saturday night, you stay out late again, maybe even later than Friday night. It comes to Sunday, you sleep in, and then Sunday you try to go to bed early, you can't really fall asleep, and then Monday you start the day and you don't feel so good.
Yeah.
That change from Thursday to Monday is just like what you talked about when you traveled across the planet, right?
Yeah.
You're actually literally changing time zones, creating a lag in your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that's happening throughout the week when people have what's known as social jet lag. And there was an awesome study that was done talking about how coming out of COVID, and especially in the Western world, and especially as people seek to find opportunities to re-engage each other as human beings, not in the cyber digital world,
Yeah.
we're entering into this phase of social jet lag again that's decreasing our overall productivity.
That's interesting. And, I would think of social jet lag as something that applies to night shift workers.
It's not social, and it's the same concept,
Yeah.
but it's not for social reasons.
Right. And I bet that most people don't think about the fact that they're doing that to themselves. Like they're like, oh, I work a regular job and I go out on the weekends and I have fun. And what's the big deal? Although I do remember I think it was one of our pediatricians told us that Mondays at school are usually tough for kids because kids go through the same social jet lag, right? The parents are excited to have them home. They let them stay up late all on the weekend. And then Monday morning, they come to school wrecked because they couldn't sleep Sunday night. They're off, right? And then it takes them the whole week to readjust before on the weekend they do it all over again.
Yeah. I do the same thing to our kids too. I'm not going to lie. They don't have to go to a school. But like when I come back from a work trip or when I've been gone shooting for a show or when I come back and it's just me and the kids, it's like, oh, kiddos, the clock is an irrelevant thing.
Their bedtime shifts like 2 hours when you come home.
Oh, yeah. And none of us like it, but I always get excited to do it to them again. It's totally something we're susceptible to, this idea of social jet lag.
Yeah.
Right? And you were asking about meds. This is super interesting.
Yeah.
1 in 5 adults in the United States, 20%, 1 in 5 adults will ask their doctor to prescribe them sleep meds.
Really?
Isn't that amazing? Prescription strength sleeping pills. 1 in 5 adults will ask their doctor for that.
That's really interesting. So when my anxiety was spiking, the first psychologist I saw, who was at the agency has this really great support system with doctors and psychologists because they need you to be right at the top of your game. So the first psychologist I saw was at the agency, and the most important thing she told me was, your bedroom is for sleep and for sex. Absolutely nothing else. If you have a TV in there, take it out. Don't read in bed. Don't do anything in bed except sleep and sex. And I implemented that right away, and it was really life-changing. And since then, I have kept that steady, and it's really been beneficial to my sleep and I don't know what
our sex?
Yeah, to our sex. I don't know what your sleep habits were like when you were younger. I don't know if you kept the TV in your room, but I used to fall asleep to the TV. It's really common. My dad does it too, just dozing off with the TV on 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, along with about 40% of Americans.
Wow.
Yeah, so I love that I get to finally use this ridiculous barroom trivia knowledge, right? So my whole sleep journey started when I went to the Air Force Academy. I was a prep school student in 1999 because I didn't qualify for the full-blown Air Force Academy. So as a prep schooler, I basically still carried all of my good habits from high school, right? Yeah. But then the prep school year was rough for me, and getting into my freshman year, it was a whole different ballgame. And I had a senior varsity athlete peer of mine, right? Somebody who was a junior at the academy. Pulled me aside and he was like, look, cadet, there's only one thing you have to do if you're going to succeed here. And for me, that's all. Like, I hated the academy. So I was like, please tell me the one thing I have to do so I don't have to waste my time doing anything else. And he was like, all you have to do is sleep. He was like, respect your sleep. Don't be the asshole who pulls the all-nighters.
Yeah.
Don't be the idiot who waits to the last minute. Don't be that guy who gets hooked on caffeine or cigarettes to stay up. Just sleep. Sleep and you'll remember your classes better. Sleep and you'll be attentive during class. Sleep and it'll replace all of the need to study or everything else, right? Just sleep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what started me on the whole, let me respect sleep. And
Yeah.
it worked. It worked my entire time at the academy. It worked when I was in the military. And when I was a nuclear missile officer, I was the guy pulling those ridiculous shift hours. Sometimes you're on the day shift. Sometimes you're on the night shift. Underground in the actual capsule, we did 72-hour shifts. 3 days underground. And then when I moved on to being the commander of the command post for the missiles, then I was on a 12-hour shift. And that 12-hour shift would shift, right? So sometimes it was noon to midnight. Sometimes it was midnight to noon. Sometimes it was 3 to 3. It would shift depending on availability for other officers. But my point is, like, long before I ever sat down for training at FTC at the farm, before I had that speech from an instructor who was like, hell, hunger drive and sleep drive, I had already been geeked out about sleep long before that, because there's so much, it's so infinitely more complicated than anybody gives it credit for.
Yeah.
And it really is like this miraculous little thing that our bodies do.
I wish I'd known you back then, because I was doing all those things. I was smoking and drinking coffee and staying up too late. Partying started on Wednesday and went through Sunday. And then I missed my 8 o'clock class almost every time.
We would have had kids a lot younger.
Oh, yeah.
If we would have met younger.
It would have been a very different life.
It would have been
for
a
us.
very different, difficult life.
Glorious with our 6 children.
And no money.
And no money. Yeah,
That's
okay.
what it would have looked like.
So fresh on me.